All right, recording
All
should
right.
begin.
Cool. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. If you're just joining, feel free to add yourself to the attendees list. Yeah, we have just a couple of things on the agenda. To start off with, I think David is on the call, so there's a demo of the new control plane metrics PR that's up for review. And then just some administrative stuff that we can talk about in a bit. So with that, David, do you want to take it away and share a screen?
Sure thing, Nina. Thank you. Thank you very much. Share. Okay. So thanks for letting me join you guys today. I will give a quick demo of a PR that's currently up for kgateway right now. It's this PR. And this PR adds basic Prometheus client Golang library metrics support for the control plane specifically. Differentiated from data plane metrics, these metrics that are added in this PR are specifically for monitoring and evaluating kgateway control plane itself. And so what we've done here is we've implemented this in such a way as to try to make sure that the metrics backend that we're using, which was specified as specifically the Prometheus client Golang library, was somewhat transparent and encapsulated within its own package, so that could be changed at any point in the future. But we did implement that and integrate that and tie that into some core metrics, and gave some examples of the interfaces to implement those metrics across our controllers, a couple of translators, our status syncers, and most importantly for this PR related to kgateway for instrumenting and generating metrics from KRT collections. So that's an important piece of what's in here. Also included our unit tests for metrics and how they work, and end-to-end tests and how they would work as well. This complies with some EPs that have gone into kgateway around metric names and what kind of naming convention we're going to follow with them. So there's linters and so forth that get incorporated with this PR as well to check that. So just to show you what this looks like and what it does, the PR adds a couple of things. Under the devel folder, there's a metrics folder that just has some kind of top level information about metrics and how they're added and where the packages that we did this are. The main point of interest is a top level exportable package because it can be used by anything that builds off of kgateway as well, called package metrics. And it includes some very basic types and interfaces for implementing basic metrics and connecting them to a metrics endpoint that we provide through the built-in controller runtime and time interfaces for that. This package also adds, one of the more interesting things about it is the metrics test package that's very useful for the kind of unit tests that you see in this PR that give an example of that. So yeah, I have a local environment set up for demoing these metrics. It's very simple. I have kgateway running on a local cluster, and I have it locally running with Tilt. So I'm using that to run this this build. And if I go over to my browser here, so Tilt, I can restart our currently running container just to make sure that that's fully up to date. And one of the things added in this PR is in the Tilt file, actually, if you're using this and working with this, you can now see this metrics link, which just links to the kgateway pod, and it's port 9092, which is configurable, and it's metrics endpoint. And this is what kgateway is actually producing from that endpoint right now, what we're seeing on the screen. There's a lot of metrics here. Because we used the built-in registry that's automatically set up by QBuilder and controller runtime that kgateway uses to build its controllers. So a lot of these metrics come from that, and just sort of we can pick them up just by doing this with this PR. And that includes all the Go runtime metrics, which can be useful for debugging purposes too. Focusing on this PR though, the metrics that begin with the naming convention kgateway are the ones that we've actually added. And you can see that we have metrics now for instrumenting KRT collections, instrumenting controller reconciliation cycles, instrumenting various translators, and then status syncers that sync statuses back to resources. Right now, there's not a lot here because I don't have anything running on this cluster, but as a demo, I will now apply some example resources. Let me apply the example gateway and an example HTTP route. When I add those to the cluster, see new containers appearing here. I refresh here. We now see that we're starting to get some XDS snapshot counts for this cluster. We're starting to see things like the gateway get counted, route get counted. We're getting new data in for our duration histograms for status syncs and reconciles and translations. And then what I'll show you here is if I were to go in and remove those resources from this cluster by deleting them, on the cluster updates, here we go. The metrics that we had in there are now updating as well to reflect these new things. We have more translations, more syncs, and less counts. A lot of these counts have now dropped to 0 because I took away the gateway and the HTTP route that we had in the cluster. So yeah, this is a simple demonstration of these basic metrics that we've instrumented so far. There's a PR up that's actively in review, trying to get as much feedback on that and comments as possible, and hopefully get a merge for that in place. We see this as the start. Once this PR gets merged and there's a general consensus and pattern for adding metrics, this can be built upon to add many, many more metrics for the control plane, which we expect. Yeah, in the PR itself is the information about how those unit tests are added and so forth. There's also a small little utility in there that can print out a quick output here of all the metrics that we've added ourselves. Specifically kgateway metrics with what their help test is and what their labels are. It can just be a useful way. Oh, and what file they're defined in. So yeah, that's basically my demonstration, and hopefully this PR will get merged and be a good foundation for emitting metrics from kgateway's control plane.
Yeah, very cool. I guess I had one question. How are we doing the end-to-end tests? I actually haven't looked at the PR yet, but yeah, how do we assert that the metrics are actually like getting incremented?
Yeah, we don't have a ton in the initial PR yet, but if we look in test Kubernetes and the new end-to-end suite, what we've added here is a new suite called metrics. There was an existing one for data plane metrics that's not yet migrated to kgateway. That's still field ignore that we moved into this proxy metrics suite. But this one called metrics now contains two tests. One that does a basic top level test of kind of some general metrics, and then another that someone else working on this project, Seth, just committed, that specifically checks some resource counting metrics here. Other than the actual YAML resources that you set up, the suites are simple. We're able to because for end-to-end purposes, we're able to just hit the port and metrics and then do a comparison of the output for the specific values that we want. So end-to-end testing is actually the easiest way to test metrics because generally we've set it up so that you can access that metrics endpoint and then you can just write tests against this.
But the metrics we're checking are like the number of listeners, or like, or in that case, the like the routing domains, right? It's not like translation time.
No. Yeah, because this is a regex match. If you wanted something like translation time, you could actually use escapes for not specifically known values. There's lots of different ways to do this here at the end-to-end level, which is pretty different than the other thing that's in the PR are examples of more unit level oriented tests, like these. which use the metrics test package in the PR and allow us to, on a metric by metric at a unit level, not a full end-to-end level, but run the particular process that generates that metric and assert that the metric is there and with the exact labels and values that we expect. So there's two ways that you build tests around metrics, right at the unit level, and then, yeah, for those end-to-end ones, Nina, that's relatively simple to implement right now because we can just hit that endpoint and then compare expected metric values against that.
Yeah, very cool. Any other questions?
Yeah, I had a quick one. So first off, amazing stuff, love it. But I had sort of a question so I'm looking at this PR, and it felt like there are times when there's a lot of sort of magic strings for each resource. In the course of this, did you get any intuition or anything we can sort of take away as sort of a community of people who want to add to this project? Is there like another layer that we need to sort of better get these relations in place so that we don't have to have 4 or 5 strings that are the only change in like a method one after another? I know it's out of scope for this PR, obviously, but just like now that you've gone through this process, is there anything you're feeling on that that might be valuable for other people who want to contribute?
Yeah, that was and Nate, correct me if I'm missing a piece of your question because I may have, but that was really a part of what the focus was with how we did this, was minimizing the intrusiveness of computing metrics on things like controller reconciliation processes or how we define and create KRT collections. So there is a little bit of inclusion in there. Longer term, we may look at ways to kind of abstract that and make even the little bit that's there disappear. But in the near term, if you look at the specifics of the PR and how those instrumentations are done, you'll kind of see why it is the way that it is. KRT instrumentation is very interesting because you can do a lot with that in terms of counting your transforms and timing your transforms, and then you can connect your metrics to KRT events on the collection and update gauges based on add, update, or delete events for collection items. A lot of that at this point looks like it's a very case-by-case kind of thing. What you're going to need to parse from the event and what you're going to want to update is very metric specific. So we don't have a way yet to kind of just say, oh, this automatically wraps the KRT collection. You don't have to do anything. Here's metrics. But what we did go for with this PR was making it so that if you want a metric for something and it's related to a KRT collection, it's very easy to implement it. You're using packages that are entirely within kgateway, so you're not depending on an external dependency. If we change how we do metrics in the future, you won't have to alter your instrumentation code because the backend interfaces will just get updated accordingly.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I was just looking at things like there's a delete function after an XES snapshot goes, and there's like 10 things, and by default kgateway probably won't add too many more things outside of the envoy primitives for XDS. But one could imagine, like, if I am extending this and I want to add some extra things, now I have to go find that, add another magic string, or else my metrics won't be right if I want to instrument it. So and once again, I'm not trying to say it has to go into this, but it's interesting when we see classes of things which is like this series of resources exist as blah, and then how do we find those when we unroll this list? So that's sort of what I was wondering about. No, but yeah, definitely makes sense that it's KRT first. Very cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, there will be a lot more work going forward as far as refining what specific things we're instrumenting, what the exact metrics are, what the labels are on them. Some of that got kind of pushed down from the first PR because of the fact that it got large and we want to get it reviewed. But if you see anything in there where you think we could instrument a better collection, find better labels, or we're off on something, yeah, please add comments.
Awesome. Any other questions or? All right, I'll take over the screen share. Cool. Okay, so the other two things I had are relatively minor. One is just the CNCF Slack workspace change. So this is actually going into effect on Friday. So I think there's not that many action items because we don't have a private channel. But any saved or pinned posts, we should make sure we like back up because once the CNCF account is downgraded, we won't be able to access pinned posts and files that were like uploaded 90 days ago. There is some discussion about moving to Discord in general, but that's not like, decided yet. So the only thing that we really need to worry about is like just, saved files and pinned posts. If you know of any that should be backed up, let me know. And just something to be aware of that, like the search history is going to slightly change starting Friday. Cool. Any questions about that or? All right. The next thing is the milestone. So I think there's a question in the chat about when the next release is, and Han has actually put together this very nice milestone. I think the date's a little off, but it has all of the things that people are currently working on or are going to pick up on that will hopefully get into the 2.1 milestone. So if you're curious or you're working on something that you would like to get in the milestone but isn't on this list, make sure you add it. Yeah, I guess, are any questions about that? I don't think Han's on the call, so if you do, she's probably in the Slack, so you can message her and ask there as well.
Since this is the first release since the 2.0 space, is this like, do we have any idea of what we're going, are we going to try and iterate on the steps of what it means to release this project?
Yeah, I think it's not like very set. I think we decided on quarterly releases as a community, but they're not like, aligned with any other project like Kubernetes or Envoy. It's just quarterly releases based on like our cadence. So yeah, I think there's still like room for discussion on how to make it more, like set on for specific days. But yeah, I think the process isn't like fully formalized yet. This is just one more step to kind of have like a sense of like what's actually going into the next release.
No, that definitely makes sense. I'm almost more asking from a process, like there's a lot of ancillary tasks that will have to be done, such as like creating change logs, hypothetically up, larger doc updates to match it. Because I know with the 2.0.x releases, our change logs have been, well, go look at the commits. So that's something that, at least selfishly, I'm interested in looking at potentially trying to take a step at. So just trying to figure out where we're going to publish those, tasks, such that we can figure out how to get them to be done.
Yeah, I know Tim actually had worked on this. If he's on the call, like we now have a new changelog field and a bot that checks that it's actually set for like new features. So there's some automation to like scrape this and collect it. I'm not really familiar with how that works. So if Tim's on, maybe he can give us some insight into how that's actually going to get collected. But there has been some. Oh yeah, you're.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off on that. I said I am on the call, but I'm also spamming Slack messages right now.
Cool.
So I think if I heard everything correctly, so Nathan, I know we talked maybe a couple weeks back. Basically, the full end-to-end in the context of the release pipeline still needs to be solved before maybe 2.1 is cut, and then you kind of hammered on the backport. That would also be great, kind of signal in terms of testing that. We have automation that scrapes PR descriptions. We have that data present, but there's nothing that's actually generating change logs, and it's kind of a weird middle ground. So I guess just to summarize that state, both changelog generation, I created a tool in a separate repository, and I think I had a closed PR that I abandoned where it adds that as a Go tool dependency and kind of just integrates it with the rest of the release workflow. I'm trying to remember, actually, I was talking with Josh about this earlier. There's an issue with the actual implementation where the GitHub search API doesn't allow you to think it's like specified base branch, which kind of blocks the patch release stuff. So my guess is there would be both iteration needed on that tool and obviously the integration and 10. If you have cycles, man, that would be awesome. I can let's talk in Slack if you're interested. I think
Yeah, that'd
from
be
my
sweet.
perspective, Nina, that's the only major gap outside of documenting the process and kind of getting alignment on when we want to cut something like 2.1. But that's kind of just me talking out loud. Hopefully we're not at the ramble stage of the day yet.
We're getting kind of close to the ramble stage, but yeah, I think that was a great recap. So yeah, I think maybe like we can start a Slack thread offline, discuss like specific things that have to get done before the release cut. And yeah, Nathan, if you have time to look at that, that would be great.
Yeah, there's a piece around those aspects, namely like changelog, release notes, and sort of how we flow those into docs that I'd be interested in talking to some people about. And so maybe we can sync up in the CNCF Slack.
Awesome.
Hey,
Any other?
Nina,
Yeah.
I had so when you were showing that 2.1 milestone, I saw something, and hopefully I'm not cutting the line here, guys. But I was kind of curious about this, the first one around 1.34 support. My guess is that we're not going to be able to move off of Envoy Glued this release. So I'm kind of wondering what this is tracking. Is it tracking updating that fork? Or is it tracking, leveraging upstream's image and fully moving off Envoy Glue? Because Yuval has a couple upstream Envoy peers that allow us to do some of that, but I don't think they'll be released. I think there's some more work on the rest formation side to unblock us.
Yeah, you need to get a few things both in and then tested, which seems tight.
Yeah, I think we should circle back with Daniel on this if he like needs it for the inference extensions, or if this is just like it would be good to move on to 134. But I think especially with Envoy Glue, there are extra dependencies that will probably make this kind of hard to get into kgateway like 2.1. So we'll circle back with Daniel on this.
Yeah, Nina, I'm here too. There's
Yeah.
no dependency on that version of Envoy for inference extension. I think I just created that issue because it came across my radar that a new release of Envoy proxy was cut.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So then I think we probably don't want this in scope, but we can remove that from planned. I just want to I'll touch base with Han to make sure she's aware that this isn't in scope.
And like it looks like at least Envoy Glue has vetted and blessed a 1.34, so that potentially means that if it's just an update, depending on how painful.
Yeah, I'm not sure if yeah, we'll have to check if anyone's tried it with kgateway. Like if it's like a painless bump, then let's do it. But I somehow I feel like all the bumps have not been very painless, so I'm not optimistic there.
Yeah, in general, at least I mean, that's one reason why kgateway shouldn't be on custom release there, because there's a lot of legacy things that just a lot of signatures change. But it is potentially true that once we get onto something that has less of that change, it's just a change in the ABI for rest formations. And then hopefully, and of course, checking the change log, making sure everything's sort of solid, which hopefully is less.
Yeah, I kind of think, +1, Nathan. I also think it would be good to get something like this in so you have soak time. But yeah, I mean, if it has to slip, it has to slip. I just think it would be nice to get this kind of like maintenance, quality of life, cost of business kind of thing in.
Yeah, also I'll ask QC because it seems like he had tried doing a similar bump or like had looked into it at some point, so maybe he has more context. Was there anything else on the milestone that we want to talk about? Leader election also seems a little ambitious, so that might have to drop.
It's actually, I think, a bit trivial. It's a bit trivial. It's just like we have to refactor the way that we provide like setup configuration, and I don't want to touch that. So yeah, maybe it is kind of like a nice to have. I think I'll tackle it with the route replacement work. We'll see. But sorry if I got us off track, guys. I saw a shiny thing and I thought maybe it was worth clarifying.
Well, yeah. Any other questions about milestone stuff or? All right. Well, I think that was the last thing. So we can end on time today. Thanks, everyone. And thanks, David, again for the demo. It was great.
Sure, thank you.
See you.
Thanks. Bye. Thanks. Cheers.